Yeah, I've seen reports of for like a transactional type site, like 10 to 30%, which I know is a large range, but 10 to 30% of a traffic decrease. It should have less impact on transactions because like people still need to purchase from somewhere. There are instances where you can book appointments or buy directly on Google. And I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes more prevalent for certain product types. But for now, for transactional sites, it's 10 to 30%-ish of traffic. And then for more of a traffic-based site, like I mentioned, a third-party reviewer, they could see upwards of 50 to 60% of their traffic, depending on what type of content they're creating.
Thank you. So anything else to add to that? Before we move into more specific questions, just foundationally, I think you guys have really helped provide a picture, the reasons why, and what the potential implications can be. But I'd love to dive into specifically SEO and paid search and have those fun, nerdy conversations. Are you guys ready? All right, well, jump right in. Basic question, what is the impact to SEO? Who wants to kick us off?
I'll start. So kind of teeing off of what Drew was just talking about with traffic changes, you might start to see some of the data and metrics that you're following as a baseline change. You might see different pages getting higher traffic. You might see sales if your e-commerce going up or staying the same, but traffic going down. You might just see confusing data at first, just because it is going to be a different landscape.
Yeah, and we've seen what's really interesting, has been really interesting to follow, is the correlation between the quote unquote traditional search results versus generative search results. You would think, I think common sense would say that the pages and the content that ranks on page one of Google's traditional search would also be showing up in a generative search. But we've actually seen the opposite. It's very common to see sites and pages that don't necessarily rank on page one in Google be listed as a source or be linked out to in a generative search experience, which is really, really interesting. And I think it kind of, I don't want to hypothesize that much, but my thought is it's, the content that's on those pages, whether they have the kind of domain authority or the overall authority to rank as a site or a page may not be there, but their content is good. And so that snippetable piece that Google is looking for, they're able to pull from wherever. So they're not necessarily just paying attention to the entire pages that have this impressive SEO aspect to it. They're pulling from content everywhere to just provide users with the best information possible.
I'll add in I'm sorry.
No, please do.
I'll just add in on that because I think this is the biggest thing, in my opinion, for folks to pay attention to, because the AI can pull from anywhere. It's a little bit different of a strategy because, right now in the normal, or what we call the normal SERP, we are getting unbiased results. People who, play the SEO game, have sound pages, have backlinks, all of the recommended means. You're going to do great if you're elevating your brand. But SGE changes it because of AI. It can pull from anywhere. Your brand management becomes a little bit different. You need to factor, well, where else could Google pull some of these information or content from? So going back to what Drew was saying with review sites, like you better hope you have a good reviews online, because if you don't, those can factor into your brand search results with SGE.
I appreciate that. One thing I want to kind of highlight, and Drew, jump in and tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong, but our goal here really with this series is always to bring the latest information and to make people aware and try to describe and create understanding in an educational light. That does not mean we have all the answers. We are consistently learning as we go. So we will keep you updated. We always do our, mid-year check-in and end-of-year check-ins. But I think the big thing about this is that it's evolving. It's this concept and this need to evolve our mindset and strategies that really we want to highlight today, but the exact methodology on how to do it, because, Google's given us the blueprint before, right? Is going to be a lot of trial and error and seeing what's out there. So I think for the audience listening, be aware and try to absorb everything that's being shared, but also know that it's going to constantly be evolving. And so we'll do our best to keep you up to date. But if you have questions as we go, please do send them in, and I'll harass Drew on your behalf. Anything to add there? Just because it's so, we can't definitively say so many things. I mean, obviously there's black and white, but application and how-tos are still being devised.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head that there's so much changing, and it's changing so fast, and it's only gonna get faster. Because, if you think back to this time last year when ChatGPT started to be normalized, like the next 12 months from January 2023 saw rapid changes. And if you haven't seen any videos of Google Gemini yet, that's like the next step from Google Bard, which is Google Bard is the AI technology that's the basis of the original SGE, which I don't think it's been replaced with Gemini yet. But Gemini is leaps and bounds past Bard and what it can do from AI technology. And that's in 12 months. So as more stuff is figured out in the tech and how it can be used and how it can be leveraged, it's just going to move that much quicker. And what that means is Google and other technology companies just continue to experiment and test. And so there's something new in generative search seemingly every week, if not every day. I mean, I follow a few different people on LinkedIn, and I'm like, oh crap, what I thought was right is now completely different, which is fun because it's interesting. It keeps us on our toes, but it can be hard to kind of stay ahead of that and be proactive. And I think, in the prep of this webinar and some different conversations with different, business leaders, like, what can I do to prepare? At the end of the day, it's providing true value to users. I think often, and there's been a few articles written in the last 6 months on kind of like the dark side of SEO. And when really, there have been. And what it sounds like is, SEO is always just trying to trick Google. You're trying to trick users and get your sites to rank. But good SEOs, that's not your goal. Your goal is to provide as much value to a user by getting them to your site and making sure that, your site is there because your site is the best. And that goal doesn't change. So at the base level and the foundation of organic search and search engine optimization is making sure that you're just providing value to the user through all of your content. And that's never going to, be defeated by an algorithm change or a search generative experience or what Google's coming through next. At the end of the day, that is all you can do is create fantastic content and a fantastic experience on your website.